Hi, it's Faith McDonnell from the Institute on Religion and Democracy. My latest article for Juicy Ecumenism was called Finding Sheet Lightning Over the Veldt. And I wrote about a poem that was given to me by a young guy years ago when I spoke at a conference on the persecuted church. And it was an amazing poem. I don't know who the guy was. I wish I did. He didn't write his name on it. As I said in my article, I also linked to the poem in my article, but not everybody finds the hyperlink, and also not everybody reads poetry. So I'm going to read the poem to you in case you're not the kind of person who likes to read poetry yourself. So this is Sheet Lightning Over the Veldt, and let's see if I can get through it without falling totally apart. Sheet Lightning Over the Veldt, Part 1. I see him crawling, limbs spread out like trees, skinny, so frighteningly breakable, in such terrible, wretched sadness, twisted and contorted in such a sad and pitiable pose as that hipster Michelangelo would have conveyed through his model of that beautiful human body, the most high creation of God. What a sin! Oh, what a terrible and unforgivable sin! That of taking the lifeblood from the men and women and children, the sad little eyes, the cowering in those lonely homes, those sad bodies being dragged through the dirt, living on grass and leaves, the manna of the plight of these people. In the name of God and Allah, what have you done? These sinister and diabolical images, contorted and distorted, mocking the love of God, who has created you to love and to be loved, and to smile at the red sunsets, and to see the wild animals and teeming creation, and to caress another human. And yet they steal the lifeblood, the very soul of another human being, out from beneath their feet, leaving them to rot and to twist and starve and die. What a wretched and detestable thing to do, to suck and bleed the people, to create famines like locusts, evil, wretched, dark, clouded locusts, sweeping the grain, murdering and pillaging, raping the wives and selling the children into bondage and slavery. Could this be what Allah commands? Is this detestable work the work of an awful and terrifying God? The sadistic indwelling of a spirit of hate. What God, indeed, what devil, burning in the depths of the earth, could command such a fearless and heartless act as to starve that very life and breath and blood of another man? I do not accept these orders from God or Allah or whoever it is that sends you and winds you like some sick robot or puppet. I do not accept your lies. The blood is on your hands, the starving children in your hands, the raped and dying women in your hands, and the broken and enslaved men are in your hands. May God show mercy and protect the oppressed. Oh, how long will you remain silent in the face of such oppression to your servants? How long? Part 2. Oh, beautiful child, you who were chosen before the earth, before the waters were set in place, and before the continents shook and broke through, before that beautiful and wild and teeming vegetation creeped and crawled and slowly but surely took over the earth, before it was known of the antelope or the bison or the dinosaur, terrible and powerful yet graceful and somehow beautiful, before even the first man, Adam, taken from mud and clay and dirt and the very ground you must drag yourself through today, before all of that you were known and chosen. But chosen for what? Were you chosen to starve at the feet of oppressors, to bleed and vomit into the ground, to cry and not be heard, to find yourself without a father or mother, to be lucky, oh, the terrible fate, not to have been blown away by gunfire, to be murdered in cold blood, to have to feel that foreign bullet in your head or heart, and to look down on the ground and to feel the death angel with his sword, God, please, not a scimitar, that symbol of the oppressor, oppressor like a splinter of a moon. I've seen it in their cursed flags before. And to know that in a few seconds this will all be over, like an evil, twisted nightmare, only to awake with your chest pressed down by an unknown evil. O beautiful angel given charge over this child, give the child strength and Godspeed over the walk, the 7-day journey. A lost and broken refugee, accompanied by a grandmother, yes, angel-like with sad eyes, tears like cold winter rain in her eyes, she will give until she withers and dies like an autumn tree under the weight of his own winter tears. Walk, dear child, run, dear child, fly on eagle's wings faster and faster to a promised land, a land of grain mixed with water into a swampy mush. A land of starving, naked, and hopeless people, a land without promises, or even maybe promises, but what to call a promise that you know won't be kept? Oh, dear child, I see you as you approach the camp. You are starving and weak. Good. In a few days you will lose enough weight that you may be able to take part in the meal. You are still too healthy to take part in supper. We are sorry. There is not enough to give you now, child. Please don't cry. Please understand. Part 3. They buried that child, side by side with the grandmother. No tears, of course. No one there had ever known that child. Perhaps God had forgotten to show his book, where the beautiful plan of life had been recorded for the child. Perhaps no one has any idea of how much truly has been lost. But then again, maybe they do understand. Dear God, do you see how lonely and ghost-like, how far away these people are from their eyes and their minds and their bodies? Does fire burn them? Do they get cold? Can they cry? Have they taken the last train to the coast? All of these questions, yet God still remains silent. I imagine him with sad eyes as he looks over his beautiful creation, comforting this child and grandmother, yet still some sort of faraway sadness and anger at these men, these wretched men, and all of the emotions, because let us not forget that God does love them, as he loves them as much as you or I. That strange and powerful miracle to raise someone from the dead is in itself hard to believe, but how will you explain love for such an evil and wretched people, a people loathing their Creator, turning to fire and guns and strength and greed to murder and oppress a people and a generation? We wonder, how can he love them? But we also know that he is just, and he will uphold the oppressed. God, please come soon. Alleviate the suffering of your children. Please, Lord, how long will you allow the wicked to oppress? Please, Lord, please. That's the end of the poem, Sheet Lightning Over the Veldt. Written by a poet whose name I don't know. I can still remember him at my conference. Great big guy, very shy, handing me the paper. You can read about it. I posted it on Facebook or on our juicyecumenism.org website for IRD. That poem was one of the things that kept pushing me about Sudan. And it was before there was a South Sudan, but of course he's talking in that poem about what was then Southern Sudan, now South Sudan. So we ask the same thing today. God, please alleviate the suffering of your children around the world, and particularly in Sudan, and those in South Sudan, and bring truth for South Sudan, truth that gets rid of the lies that have been told for so long. Thanks, everybody. God bless. I got through it without crying. How about that? Every other time I've read the poem, I've like burst into tears. So anyway, God bless y'all. Love you. Mickey McNally, I love you. Thank you for watching and for being there. Oh, my sister, you're embarrassing me. I love you too. Okay, everybody, God bless. I'm getting ready for bed now. Bye.